just acceptance of peace, just exhale and just feel that this is all there is. Don't fight. It's not just about you feeling the irrelevance of that. And that's why I love Hinduism so much. I love the itihasa, the history part of our Mahabharata, Ramayana, which were so practical. I had lots of people on my Instagram who are pretty much non-native to India talk the same thing. Oh, you're promoting war, you're quoting Gita like this. I said, have you read Gita? Because they only think that, okay, it's all about internal demons. Yes, but internal demons, when they externalize and they come in front of you, what did he tell Arjuna? Because Arjuna was also in the same dilemma, right? Oh, these are my relatives. This is the same guy who taught me. This is the same guy who brought me up, raised me. He says, the motive with which you wage a battle which is inevitable, that decides. And that also decides the karma.
Incorporate in their lives where we don't take the approach of, okay, peace means just sitting like this and doing nothing. No, it means taking a stand when you have to. This is also part of your dharma, which is also karma, which is, Gita is clearly, so it clearly says that. And that's kind of been the essence of Indian spirituality and Indian philosophy and Indian civilization as well. That's why we've always fought our way through whatever has happened in India. Yeah, so hi Mayoori, how are you? Welcome to Raw and Unfiltered.
Thank you, Kartikeya.
We're finally doing a podcast that is recording, and I can hear you.
Yes.
And then I've also seen you physically in the process as well. And we have tried it from different locations, and
yes,
now it's finally happening. Honestly, like I'm quite, I'm navigating a very interesting space where I'm very aware of the world, externally, and also because I'm in a situation, physical space where everybody is like really jacked in,
Yes.
But I feel quite indifferent because I don't know. I'm kind of in a very internally more centered space every day. So for me, it's like I don't watch much news, even though if I know what's going on from people. But it's yeah, I don't know. It's like if I see a bomb falling down, till then I won't do anything, and at that point nothing will be done anyways. There will be nothing to do. So it's like I'm kind of in a space where I'm really aware of the simulation, but not just from my mind, where my entire body is just and the spirit is very aligned in with the self-realization kind of process. So it's easier to kind of accept things. I don't know how to describe it, and there's no such thing as escaping or this or that. Like fight or flight is not really active in me so much anymore. So yeah, I don't know. It's. I think that's kind of why, because I'm also in a space where I'm not taking a lot of action right now. Like I'm kind of in a bit of a cave mode, but doing that in Delhi instead of Himalayas, where I'm taking actions just based on what I need to do, important stuff to close, to start new things, but subtle, nothing crazy like full power like I've been before. So I'm just, that space of where action comes from without wanting to do, but it just comes naturally. I'm in more that space, while I'm also aware of everything and I'm aware of people's emotions because I'm meeting people regularly at the moment as well. But I'm not affected internally by anything.
It's a very interesting space because, this is a totally different topic than what we're going to do. Just to give a perspective of this, it's when you're really aligned, you see, you watch everything, right? From the space of heart, where compassion, peace, everything is there. But there is also a relevancy factor. What I saw missing in the community nowadays, especially after Indo-Pak stuff happened, is um, one one-sided vision of how peace comes. People don't understand that you go through a lot of tumult. The war may be internal when you're going through a process to digest a lot of stuff, but when it gets externalized, action has its own place. It doesn't mean that you're moving away from your principles and value system, etc. It's just a relevancy. So I just finished recording this one point of view that it's possible for us to be able to record this right now in the middle of that tension because somebody chose to do their karma and dharma irrespective of how they feel. Because they're aligned. It is their meditation, it is their spiritual practice. And how beautifully we are able to witness this in Bharata, India, which is the root of all of these timeless wisdom and so well integrated. Because it's never easy to appease everyone. Whatever you do, you will upset certain section of the society. But having persevered, having shown tolerance, having really withheld yourself, like how it happened with Krishna and Shishupala, 100 times he gave a chance. And then one spin, he says, okay, this is done. So I feel like I'm able to witness this moment where the evil is being struck down. It's almost like a victory of dharma being reestablished. And with what an amazing elan that they're able to carry this forward. So I think when we don't speak about this enough, we're also kind of hiding in our own bubble. And which is why I wanted to talk about this by starting our prayer, which we did, two of us, to say a word, prayer of gratitude for those soldiers who are risking their lives on the border so that we are able to function safely.
Yeah, I mean, for me also, like the way I guess I'm not thinking so much like you are. Whatever you said now, I was just absorbing because I'm kind of in a space where I'm not able to think so much anymore. Like my mind, if it gets busy, like it gets busy more energetically now, and then I just kind of do the naturally. Then the centering happens through the. It's like processing happens, but not so much through thoughts anymore. More energetically, and then I just come into the energy center, and that's it. And in terms of like whatever's happening in India or Pakistan or worldwide, there are many conflicts going on right now, and then this is another one on top of it. um, yeah, like everyone's karma is being played as it is, like soldiers doing their role, we're doing our role, politicians, all this kind of like the game, the leela that we talk about, that we see, that is very clearly visible, is being played. And I'm trying to kind of bring this just from a place of an observer, where I understand the severity of emotions and practical realities that different roles have to abide by based on where they're at. Like somebody at the border with guns are going through a very different experience than somebody sitting here like us, or somebody sitting somewhere else, right? But from a grand scheme of things, it's like observing it all, seeing it as an impermanent reality, because it will also change, coming years, or the past was different, now is different, then future will be different. It's always changing. It's always an evolving sequence of things, right? And from the lens of any spiritual tradition, like the body is matter and the spirit lives on forever. So whoever shall die on either side, the spirit shall live on, right? And ultimately, it's a human who's dying without the sides, right? But then, at the essence of it, we are sitting with what is the core essence of all of this? Like, what is the core essence of all of this, in the sense where people who are able to observe is it really playing the mental game that this is what we need to do, this is not what we need to do, to really be like, what is the role of consciousness in all of this? Because I think that's where it becomes interesting, where self realization as a journey or as a path or as an understanding, even of Gita, as you mentioned, or Dharma, or all of these things, that the mere concepts that become more into practice, where do they stand? Because this is the time where those are kind of become very relevant, because people start quoting Gita, people start quoting all these aspects of different teachings and different philosophies. But now, in terms of practice, integration, and embodiment, where do they stand in their role through all of these times where, let's say, there's an escalation in the world, like, and this is not the first time, like, we have had escalations before, but now the difference is that they're nuclear weapons. So the nuclear weapons creates a scenario where everybody gets destroyed, right? So humanity as a whole has a way of self-destroying themselves. That kind of creates a scenario where people don't want to go there because of fear. So there is going to be some peace at some point, because it's interesting, the strongest weapons out there are actually kind of creating a scenario where people don't want to go to that extent, because you if you do go there, like, and both like different, both enemies have that power, then it becomes a self-destructive scenario. So that kind of keeps us in, like, okay, we don't want to go there, right? So it's all quite interesting from this lens. It may be very triggering for many people, what I'm saying, for sure. People who are really engaged in the, and I know many people here around me are completely
No, no,
engaged
I'm
in all
also very
this.
much engaged. And what you're saying is, I will first let you complete so that you ask me that one hook so that we can have a dialogue on that. It's very interesting how you're leading this. So please complete.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm not sure how am I leading this, but I'm just sharing the essence of what I've been sensing, in the sense that amidst all of this, like, it's the first time in my life where I'm in Delhi and I feel the most peace. Like, I don't know how that is happening, but it's the first time in my life I feel the most peaceful in Delhi, which has made me also look at this whole scenario and separate from this whole scenario my own journey, and being like, if I separate from it, there's been a lot of things that have happened for me to be in this internal space, and then it somehow randomly, or nothing is random, coincides with this timing, of this situation, of conflict between India and Pakistan. So now I find myself intriguingly observing myself more to be just like, how much of everything is just inside us, even amidst everything that can be going on externally. Like, it's really our inner state where it all comes down to, where self-realization, beyond the aspects of death, even, or beyond the aspects of anything, like all that may trigger us, trigger emotions, all these things, the little nuances inside us, I'm not talking about the outside. Once you're able to observe them, then no place becomes barrier for your internal truth, and that's really where, like, for people who walk this path, consciously or unconsciously, everybody's walking this path ultimately, but this is the kind of space they want to be in, and I wouldn't even want to call it space. It's like the realization that you are seeking for in many ways. And of course, this is also impermanent. I'm not attaching myself to this space right now. I'm just observing it, because I recently met a monk teacher of mine just in Delhi. He was passing by here as well, and we had this detailed discussion in Delhi as well, not regarding the conflict thing, because at that time it had just kind of started, but we were talking about this kind of stuff. So I don't know. I'm just sitting with all of this, and I'm quite attached, but I'm quite detached. You know,
I would like to add a few perspectives there. It's a very beautifully summarized version of what you said about internal peace in the middle of all of this chaos, and you're able to even detach yourself from this opinion also. So you're like literally observing that, right? You're more in the internal world. Now, as a practitioner of healing, what I do with so many years of meditation, there is always this two ends of the spectrum, right? One is internally, you see yourself as the source of all of these thoughts and source of peace, war, everything is inside you. But at the same time, externally, when they are manifested as situations where there is an action that is happening, you cannot deny, right? And your participation, whether you like it or not, is a participation. By keeping silence, also you're participating. By
Yes.
speaking up, you're participating. By speaking up what, you're also participating. So here I will again would like to take this opportunity to internally dwell in the spiral of consciousness amongst people who think spirituality is all about just acceptance of peace, just exhale and just feel that this is all there is. Don't fight. It's not just about you feeling the irrelevance of that. And that's why I love Hinduism so much. I love the itihasa, the history part of our Mahabharata, Ramayana, which were so practical. They are the incarnations of the peace. They're the messengers of peace. They're the messengers of spirituality at the peak of it, at the zenith of it. But when there was a challenge thrown their way, they did not shy away from it. Instead, they showcased how to do this, how to take on this action more responsibly. And I'm able to correlate, like you're having your internal observation. I was able to internally observe as to how this is like a wheel which is moving from one yuga to another yuga. Scenario might have changed. Anu, Paramanu, bomb, nuclear weapons, this is all a reality. But I can clearly see how Bharata, India as we know today, has not shirked away from the principles of what these avataras or avatara purushas stood for. Like in terms of the dharmic principles, people just know the end result, that peace comes, right? But how does the peace come? When you have to endure, how much you have to endure. And when you even give a response, that response is not just given in the fleeting moment of aggression. It is still having consideration, it is still having compassion, but just doing what needs to be done. One, for self-protection, defense of the larger set of people. Second, so that even the opposite party gets a chance to recalibrate themselves. So if you notice the developments that are happening, India has still not done what Pakistan has been doing all along. So there is very beautiful observation as to which part of the battlefield are you actually standing on. And I'm glad I'm able to stand on the ground of the same nation where these principles are upheld. So for me, how I witness this is that there are some quotes of even Shaolin masters who say this, do not think that everything that you are able to pursue as an end goal is how you get it. When we like hold our fist very tight is when we experience the lightness of it. When there is an extreme amount of conflict is when you know what is the price of freedom, what is the price of peace. So I think this is an inevitable unfolding of something which has always happened. I'm not going to just say that point blank, okay, this party, that party, but we all know the terrorism has no religion. But when terrorism has struck, when there is an action that needs to be taken, when somebody shies away from taking an action or participating in the speech by saying, okay, I'm going to lose or upset certain set of people, that is also a cowardice. A sense of cowardice, because this is people pleasing at the peak. There is a word, epistemic disobedience, because we are known to have this kind of behavior that, oh, just be nice, just be quiet. India has always, or whether it's called Bharata, etc., it's always had invasions, but it has never attacked anybody. And that is the central helm of its wisdom. And what is beautiful for me is, whoever will call whatever parties is this corrupt, that corrupt, this is not done, this is to self service themselves, etc., whatever they do, you cannot fake. You cannot fake when your true leadership has to walk the talk. And we are able to see that. And it's not to idolize or something. It's just an opportunity for each of us to see, where do we stand? What stance do we take? I had lots of people on my Instagram who are pretty much non-native to India talk the same thing. Oh, you're promoting war, you're quoting Gita like this. I said, have you read Gita? Because they only think that, okay, it's all about internal demons. Yes, but internal demons, when they externalize and they come in front of you, what did he tell Arjuna? Because Arjuna was also in the same dilemma, right? Oh, these are my relatives. This is the same guy who taught me. This is the same guy who brought me up, raised me. Says the motive with which you wage a battle which is inevitable, that decides. And that also decides the karma. If we believe in the Siddhanta of karma, we reap what we sow. It is what we are sowing right now. So if I am able to be in the comfort of my home with that kind of indifference, I'm able to be that indifferent because I can afford to be like this. The true test of my internal alignment will be when I'll be in the border. When there is a heavy shelling, when there is a heavy firing happening, or I'm actually in the land of the perpetrator, I'm able to be in that kind of an alignment. Great, I have achieved that. Till then, we're trying to imitate the result without going through the path. So, of course, this was triggering for a lot of people because they were saying, no, this is not, this is, you're promoting war. And nobody is promoting war. You think Indian army wanted war? This is their spirituality. So it is upon us where I'm able to appreciate. For me, I'm just able to appreciate people's different ways of being deeply spiritual without overtly being spiritual. Somebody who gets the integration of these, who embodies these principles. They walk the talk. And that is much more spiritual than people doing meditation for 10 hours. This is, in my assessment, what is happening on the scenario.
Yeah, it's interesting because these kind of scenarios are, it's not first time scenario. It's like they keep on going, in spirals, just in different forms. And with like the way it works is kind of like, if you look at it from just consciousness perspective, that these scenarios are kind of what, even if people don't understand Gita, but they are quoting Gita or they're talking about Gita, on a collective level, or we are having this conversation, which is a very different conversation than what we had before, just because of an external situation that has triggered us to, as you said, everybody's participating in their own way. It's like you cannot, as long as you're in the body, you're participating. Now, if you're in the land that is playing that is in that game or conflict, whatever that is, we have participated just by being in it. Now, the aspect of this is very interesting because we come into direct inquiry of Gita or inquiry of dharmic principles, as you said. So now, from this angle, what are those dharmic principles? And one, and second is like everybody I feel has a um, and the second part actually I want to ask is, that recalibration time you talked about, that's very real in these scenarios. It's very, because there, it's not just a reactive approach you can take with these scenarios, because the ultimate is, both parties have nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
So it cannot be a reactive scenario. It has to be a calculated, if not fully calculated, it has to be in somewhat taking into account this side, global scenario, this, like all things in as much capacity that they can. Of course, the media plays a very unique role in all of this, which I don't know where to put them into as a box, because I'm trying not to portray anything as positive or negative. I'm just trying to observe,
Yeah.
because if there was no media like it is now, where everything is, the news is like, the information is one thing, something does something, like X does X, is shown that, and that's it. Y does Y, shown that, is done, that's it. Based on that as well, we can have these discussions around dharmic principles, Gita, and all of that. What the media does is another chain of things to really mess with people's heads, and like there's another like many other layers around it, where it's like a and I'm sure it's being done on that side as well. It's always like both sides playing this, with the masses, with the information game nowadays, with the media, like really making it into a Bollywood movie almost, like constantly 24/7 kind of situation with this, that, and everybody's involved. But from a consciousness perspective, let's observe that too, in some sense, where um, that's also there. But now, from the dharmic principles understanding, like what are those dharmic principles? One, what is that recalibration process that is unfolding? Two, and third is, like, what is there for all of us who may be at the border, who may be sitting like us in the rooms, or who may be in different countries where they're not in this scenario, but they're sensing it, because it's like everything is global now. So the way Ukraine, Russia affected people, Israel, Palestine affected people, so does any people get affected by India, Pakistan, so it's like a global chain of events that are transpiring at the same time, back to back.
And
Now,
we have
how does
geopolitical
that?
friendships also, very interesting. The
Huh?
nature of geopolitical friendships.
Yes, it's very intertwined actually, and also you can see in a grand scheme of things, like even the powerhouses, let's say like US and China, they are advocating for peace in their own ways, at least externally. Who knows inside? But so it's all very interesting. It's not like black and white. There's a lot of gray in the middle. There's a lot of that we don't know. There's a lot that's being done, and that's how it's meant to be, I guess. But yeah, from a individual perspective, as a consciousness in individual and a collective, like what are these essence of dharmic principles that are there to take from this situation, incorporate in their lives, where we don't take the approach of, okay, peace means just sitting like this and doing nothing. No, it means taking a stand when you have to. This is also part of your dharma, which is also karma, which is, Gita is clearly, if you go in the essence of it, clearly says that. And that's kind of been the essence of Indian spirituality and Indian philosophy and Indian civilization as well. That's why we've always fought our way through whatever has happened in India, in through history, right? So now, keeping that into a line where you stand your ground as a warrior, uh, from the kung fu kind of philosophy as well,
Yeah.
but you ensure you are not standing there just to kill people. You're there to defend what needs to be defended, you know and you're there to protect what needs to be protected. At the same time, you're also, if possible, being in your God state. right?
Yeah.
Like the dharmic principle of basically Bhagavad Gita, like to Arjun, it's like, okay, Arjun, you have to do this because it's your karma, right? But your dharma, you can still do that out of compassion, right? So this kind of dharmic principles can we get a sense on, get some clarity on from your side, because I think it's very important to understand, even for us, to not misunderstand Gita, and to know like what is a calculated action, understanding that at the same time, yeah, playing this game like with as much dharmic integrity as possible, basically.
I like the word what you said. I think we should break down this entire line of questions that you presented. All of them are so interesting. I may just get lost in all of them. So I'll just start with the first one. What are
Yeah.
the dharmic principles with regard to the context what we are discussing right now? The first and foremost, what appears to me is the cyclic nature of the conflict and the resolution of conflict. In every yuga, this has happened because somehow, when we compare to the grandiose past, we also tend to make our present look very like stupid, like we have digressed from that path of that grandiose past, and we are in a very cheap version or imitation, etc. I feel that it's the cyclic nature of this. you know what happened back then too, whether people give the status of history or not, it is a fact that it is itihasa. Mahabharata did happen, and there were so many soldiers. It was fought on the grounds where people, like, lots of deaths happened, lots of casualties happened, and at the end of it, like brahmastra and everything, to the likeliness of what is today's nuclear power also happened. And if you notice, there was also a lot of restraint that was showcased by one party, which is Pandava. Because there are two parties, and I think they represent the nature of the conflict itself. Correct? One party represents greed, one party represents blind victory at any cost. The motive is to acquire something, even if it means annihilation of the entire population, both on their side as well as on the other side. So this already conjoins to the second dharmic principle, which is about the motive with which you do anything.
The motive, say again, motive?
Motive with which you do anything, then action becomes inconsequential. Because we tend to whitewash the spiritual principles, saying always being nice, always being quiet, always being peaceful. Yeah, we always look at that one end of the peace and one end of being pure, and saying this is what is the constant nature of this person, personality, incarnation, or the party. So we almost strip the reality of that mystical nature to be embodied by the person who's upholding the values. Because the moment we embody any of these natural sentiments, we're given choices. So Kauravas also had choices, Pandavas also had a choice. In today's world, Pakistan also had a choice, India also had a choice. Now, how they picked on these choices defines who is Kaurava and who is Pandava. I'm like literally doing the math of the relevance of this historical past to current scenario, and it seemingly perfectly fitting the piece, like the piece of the puzzle. The dharmic principle. Why dharma? What is dharma? Let's first understand what is dharma. Yeah, dharma, by the virtue of its definition, is when you're given a certain task. How do you perform that task? With what intention do you perform that task? And what all do you consider? Am I right? Does it answer the understanding of dharma? So, dharma for an army or a nation which is which is responsible as a leadership collectively for all the people who they are heading is extremely crucial. It's not like, oh, it's my house and your house. It's a very big house which houses lots and lots of people. So any denigration, any departure of the strategic thinking which will jeopardize the present and the future of that population is on that person's head, on that person's shoulders. Likewise for the opposite party too. Now you see the clear difference how they are performing these duties. Somebody who attacks as a terrorist attack has already committed a crime, right? It's uncalled for. Everybody knows that. There is no way to rationalize it. But the moment that is looked upon as patriotism, it's like widening the fold of these acts without seeing what is the motive. Because if you just match the action, I am entitled to this site. I'm entitled to, say, my piece of land, which was mine. And to restore this, I will kill all the civilians or I will kill the innocent people. Versus somebody who says, I'm ready to give myself as an offering, but I'm not going to buckle down because I want this freedom. So much of a difference. But when we come down to just the action, they match the action with the action, they lose the narrative of the Dharma. So for me, this is very clearly visible. Though people say, oh, it's a war, both are shelling, both are doing this. No, like India, if it decided to do what it did last night, Pakistan did to India, they were dropping bombs all over, like the Pathankot and all the Poonch and Jaisalmer, etc. If we did not have the equipment S-400, if we did not have that kind of defense system, which was just shooting them down, we were not attacking their cities. They were directly attacking our civilians. This clearly showcases that on the front of provocation, you're already doing good by not doing what they are doing. Upon that provocation, how do you disarm and how do you respond? I think this is a great statesmanship. This is a great demonstration of the spiritual values put to test. Because when we are agitated, you see, in my house, if I just bring it down to the level of a smaller household reality. So
I think that's what we should do. Let's do this house smaller, because once we do X, Y smaller, it becomes easier to understand.
It's a good example actually.
Yeah, let's do household.
So suppose a neighbor comes to my house. Okay, he appears to be nice initially, and I welcome him home. I give him dawat and all of that. He says, okay, very nice, and he starts slowly poisoning my household. And initially I say, hey, why did you do this? He says, no, I feel that this house belongs to me. I'll say, you lost it over. This is my house, that's your house, you live, go away. But this person says, okay, but I'm trying to come to your house with a different agreement now. I'm good. It's not me. Somebody just came and influenced me from outside. So I lost my ability to think. Please believe me and invite me over again. So this time, they have not only come with a weapon, they have killed a couple of people in my house. Okay. Then will I sit and say, oh, I want peace. Please go away. You've killed my family already, my friends and family who are living in my house. Or will I just take him by collar and punch him? What will I do? Of course, I will do the latter. Because it comes down to the survival. Either I have to safeguard my family, or I have to be popular in the neighborhood by saying, see how peaceful this person was. That person got into her household and he destroyed. And on top of that, they're saying, if I retaliate, if I hit the person, not damage the person that he's dead, but just I hit the person so that he understands he cannot do this again, as a warning. Neighbors will say, "Oh my God, look at the gall of her. She held him by the collar. Earlier, she never did something like this." This is the kind of criticism which is the chitter chatter internationally that happens. So, some of your friends who know you, they no, she's not like that. She's a person who gave many chances. That person did not abide by the consciousness of being grateful for the opportunities he got. He did not change his ways, but he continued to harm the person and her family. So she only stood for the sake of defense, and she gave him few punches so that he realizes not to do this again. Now, this is actually what is an amplified version that has happened. Now, the chitter chatter that is happening around is questioning the humanity, questioning the spiritual essence which India has been upholding for so long. India has attacked Pakistan. No, this is not called attack. This is defense. And to say that, okay, you should not take a have a response to this kind of a terrorist attack is also participating and perpetuating terrorism. There's a very beautiful summarization of that in one of the novels. It's called "Sin of Omission is equal to sin of commission." If I witness in my neighborhood somebody coming and doing, say, some eve teasing, and which progressively goes on to the note of like making the woman uncomfortable, and I say it's none of my business because it's not happening to me. I'm far away. It's not my body. Or I stand up and say, "Hey, how dare you touch her?" This is also spirituality. And actually, this is spirituality because there is an internalization of the fact that if this is happening in my presence and I'm able to witness, it's happening for a reason. If I stay silent, either for the fear of being judged or for being called, "Oh my God, why did you get involved with yourself? It was not happening to you." This is removing ourselves from the responsibility of collective consciousness. And this is exactly where spirituality demands you to act in your own capacity. I mean, the least amount of participation we can do is to be able to observe. This is all in the open. And I completely recognize the fact what you mentioned, that we will not know 90% of the truth that is already happening at a high level. And that's the way it should be. Because this is a high level of intelligent information, right? It's about the safety of the country. It can't be available to everyone just to have debates. So imagine what we know is already a lot. But what we don't know, the kind of challenges that they are facing in real time, is a very different responsibility. They will defend whether we like them to defend or not. But at least we have a choice to deserve to be saved. Because those lives that will be laid down for safeguarding the country, they will do anyway. They're there. They are already accepting the fact that this nation is going to have this chitter chatter. Somebody who is leftist or liberal, or they'll say, "Oh, this is not the solution." They're not going to say, "I'm not going to defend you. I'm going to die only for these people who are backing me." They're going to die. But at least this is our response. You see, this is the connection from our heart. By praying and conjoining and being grateful for somebody who is literally risking their life. That person is also very valid. His life is very precious in the cycle of incarnation, life and death. This is also his chance to live his life, no? He's able to lay it down. And that takes a lot of guts. So if I'm not able to do that, but if push situation comes to that order where despite all of that, so I'm just saying like 1% okay, there is a chance that there is a heavy occupancy where like all of this is like we are under the threat, not vice versa. And we die. I think I will accept that death very peacefully because we did what we could. I did extend the support when I had to, not like a coward cursing the shit like, oh my god, how dare Modi take this kind of a stance. He took the stance for you because it can go either way. One or the other time, you will have to face the consequence that something may not go in your favor as much as it will go in your favor. I think that balance of vision, acceptance is spirituality, and that is the dharmic principle of don't attach yourself to the fruit of the action. Do your action anyway. But do your action with what kind of motive you are motivated by decides the nature of your action. That is sattvic or rajasic or tamasic. So not just the action which is like some war is happening, somebody is killing somebody. That killing can be an act of compassion. Because Rama also, when he killed Ravana, he did it with a different consciousness. When Mahishasura Mardani, all our Hindu festivals, this is the kind of misconception West, especially people who come here to learn yoga and healing and wellness, they have this principle that, oh my god, India is so tolerant and all of these principles of dharma is like, come, slap me, kick me, piss on me and I will do nothing. No, this is not dharma according to Hinduism. All our deities are very intense, fierce. Veerabhadra has a sword. Kali has a mala, like a garland of skulls. Bhairava, Durga, she has the Trishul. Shiva has Trishul. Krishna had Sudarshana Chakra. But how they used it? They used it. It's the restoration of a seemingly evil aspect so that naturally the space is made for the consciousness which wants to flourish in peace. I think this is the other dharmic principle where you literally take into account the comparative goodness of larger set of population which will benefit inhabiting the earth beyond you and I. Because this action is now. Either I can let them attack me again and again from time to time, stay silent, be popular, saying, oh, I'm such a tolerant country. But when you have the capacity, see, we did not do this earlier. It's also strategic. You gather the strength. When you gather the strength, you still show some stricture in which you showcase your power. I think this has been done very beautifully by India. If they resorted to what Pakistan did, Pakistan wouldn't have existed by now. One night it would have been wiped out. They didn't do. India hasn't done what Pakistan did, even now. So for me, this is beautiful spiritual truth embodied even in politics today. People say, of course, politics is corrupt, but not everything has the same one-dimensional point of view. It's like, how do I give the example? When I have peace, but when I'm talking to a person who does not understand the nature of peace at all, after a point of time, I have to talk to him the way he will understand. The language he will understand. But my motive will not change. That will decide my stance. It will decide my character. So this is one beautiful essence that I'm able to witness even in today's politics.